Whispering. Breathless, they tell you never to go into the Blackwood pines after the sun dips below the horizon. Not because of the wolves, not because of the bears, but because the woods here. They have a memory. If you hear your mother calling your name from the brush, keep walking. If you hear your best friend laughing behind a cedar tree, do not turn around. Because in these woods, the trees don't just grow, they listen. And once they learn your voice, they never let you leave. My name is Elias. I'm a seasoned hiker. I've done the PCT, the Appalachian Trail, and I thought I knew everything about the wild. But 2 months ago, I took a detour through a gray zone, a patch of forest in northern Maine that doesn't appear on most GPS maps. It started out as a perfect autumn afternoon. The air was crisp, smelling of pine and damp earth. But around 4 p.m., the birds went silent. Not just a lull in the singing, total, suffocating silence. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. I stopped to check my compass. It was spinning. Not a fast spin, but a slow, rhythmic rotation. Like it was being pulled by a heartbeat deep underground. That's when I heard it for the first time. It was my sister's voice, Sarah. But Sarah was 300 miles away in Boston. My blood turned to ice. It sounded like she was standing just 20 feet behind a thicket of overgrown ferns. I called out to her, "Sarah, is that you?" The moment the words left my mouth, I felt a wave of nausea. You know that feeling when you're being watched by something that doesn't have eyes? The voice replied instantly, but this time, it was my Sarah. "Is that you?" T wasn't an echo. The timing was wrong. It was a perfect, digital quality playback of my own question, coming from the trees above me. I looked up, but all I saw were the long, skeletal branches of the pine swaying in a wind I couldn't feel. I started to run. I didn't care about the trail anymore. I just needed to get to the clearing. But the faster I ran, the more the forest changed. The trees seemed to grow closer together, their bark looking less like wood and more like stretched skin. Every time I stepped on a dry branch, the forest would record it. Seconds later, I'd hear the same snap behind me, then to my left, then directly in my ear. It was learning my movement. It was mocking me. I tripped over a root and tumbled down a small ravine. My flashlight flickered and died. In the pitch black, I heard the voices again. But they weren't just Sarah's or mine anymore. It was a symphony of dozens of people, screams, whispers, lullabies, and prayers all overlapping in a chaotic, rhythmic drone. I fumbled for my backup light. When the beam finally cut through the dark, I wasn't alone. It stood about 8 feet tall. It was thin, impossibly thin, with limbs that looked like charred branches. But it was the face that broke my mind. It didn't have one. Instead, its torso was covered in small, vibrating holes. As it breathed, the holes opened and closed, emitting the sound of 1,000 different voices at once. It leaned down, mimicking the sound of my own heavy breathing. It was waiting for me to speak. It needed a new sound, a fresh memory. I didn't scream. I bit my tongue until I tasted blood, shoved my pack at the thing, and scrambled up the ravine. I didn't look back until I hit the asphalt of the main highway 3 hours later. I made it out, but something stayed behind. A week after I got home, I was sitting in my kitchen at midnight. The house was quiet. Suddenly, from the corner of my dark living room, I heard the sound of a twig snapping. Then, a voice that sounded exactly like mine whispered, "Sarah, is that you?" The woods don't just take your voice. Sometimes they follow it home. Have you ever heard something in the woods that didn't belong? Tell me your story in the comments if you're brave enough. Don't forget to like and subscribe to DarkWhisper Stories for more nightmares. And remember, if you hear your name in the trees, keep walking.